This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 459. Think of your choices as effect, not causes, by Cain of Raptitude.com, and I'm Justin Malik, your very own personal narrator. This is where I read to you, just like an audiobook, from blogs mostly covering anything that I think will help you optimize your life and help you have a more meaningful life. And today's post comes from an excellent writer, Cain. But before we get into it, I'm very lucky to have FreshBooks helping to keep this podcast alive. Show them some love back, especially if you're interested in tracking your expenses, your time, or if you invoice people. Their service is the easiest I've found for freelancers, small business, and entrepreneurs, and I still use them. I'm sure I will for a long time. You can try it out for free without even entering a credit card. Just come by freshbooks.com/living. And now let's hear a post from David as we optimize your life. Think of your choices as effect, not causes, by Cain of Raptitude.com. Imagine for a moment that you could see your own life from above, as though your home, neighborhood, and workplace were little dioramas with open roofs. Your miniature self isn't aware you're watching and exhibits all the habits you do. With a kind of embarrassed concern, you watch your hapless self wake up, hit snooze a few times, then sit up and read Reddit on your phone for 20 minutes, or whatever you normally do. You watch as you interact with the world, making some good decisions and some bad ones. You learn a lot about yourself just from seeing your everyday behavior from the outside. How much time you actually spend staring at electronic devices, how you're more argumentative than you thought, how often you cut your workouts short so you can get on with lunch, how you almost never clean behind the couch. Now imagine you could intervene in subtle ways, not by making choices for your mini self, but by changing the surrounding environment. You could move an object in a room your mini self will visit later, maybe putting a bag of cookies in the cupboard that would otherwise be sitting out when you get home from work. You could position a birthday card where it might remind you to call your mother. You could quietly delete Reddit from your miniature's phone. Over time, small changes like these might be all you need to guide your mini self to a significantly better life. None of them give your mini self any more resolve or willpower, but they do set up a different succession of triggers throughout each day, each of which leads to predictably healthier behaviors and a predictably better life. If each of us was given even 2 weeks of this kind of top-down management, it would change our view of self-improvement forever. Our consistently self-defeating behaviors and the routines and triggers that lead to them would become obvious. Without even trying, we'd notice dozens of places we can improve our lives, even without any gains in courage, skill, integrity, or any of the other qualities we associate with lasting improvement. When I use my phone as an alarm clock, my day starts with browsing Facebook. When I have a great day at the gym, I tend to treat myself to junk food later. When I go for a drink after work, even if I leave early, I tend to watch bad TV all night. After watching your mini self stumble in the same places repeatedly and struggle to make the simple, healthy choices you wanted to make, you'd begin to see self-control differently. It would become obvious that human behavior depends much more on unconscious routines and conditioning than it does unconscious intentions or resolve. Your attitude at 5:30 p.m. when you ultimately decide whether you're going to the gym depends on many more factors than your desire to get fit. It depends on how your workday went, the tone of your last conversation at the office, what podcast you listened to during your commute, how you slept, whether you caught Rocky on TV the other day, whether it occurred to you this week that your father died early of heart disease, and countless other factors that aren't being given credit for their role in whether you end up skipping your workout or not. We attribute our successes and failures to choices. Good choices make for a good life. And we tend to think of choices as causes rather than effects. But our choices have causes too. The choices we're able to make are constrained by what's going on in our heads at the precise moment the decision point comes up. Our mood, energy level, and expectations of success. How often we can choose to do the healthy and productive things we want to do depends on our routines and lifestyles, conditions that are in place long before the decision moment arrives. Of course, you usually skip the gym. Given your current routine, you're at your most worn down at 5:30 p.m. when the decision gets made. The conditions simply aren't there for a gym habit. Sometimes a surge of willpower can override the wariness, but it won't be there every day. If we could regularly see our lives from above, we'd probably move away from a just do it sort of self-improvement philosophy where we believe character and resolve are the vital but so often missing factors. Instead, we'd begin to see improvement as a matter working diligently on the causes of our choices because there's much more leverage to be found there. Why did you skip Spanish practice Wednesday but not Tuesday? What was different? Were you cranky because you stayed up after drinking coffee too late? Did you feel rushed because you tried to get it over with before your show came on? There are clues here. Does reading the newspaper first thing leave you feeling impatient and pessimistic and conflicted about working on your side business? Do you tend to skip your Wednesday night obligation half the time because it feels like an annoyance given your overloaded Tuesdays and Thursdays? Minor changes on this level can set up decision moments that are much more agreeable. We are capable of a lot more than we think because we tend to mistake the limitations imposed by our routines and lifestyles as intrinsic personal limitations. I just can't stick to cardio routines. Believe me, I've tried. This is why high achievers so often have unconventional habits. You can see how different many of their regimens were. Kafka did most of his writing in the middle of the night. Dickens insisted on several hours of exercise daily. Maya Angelou wrote in rented hotel rooms, not a home. Clearly, these people recognize the enabling and inhibiting effects of seemingly unrelated environmental details on their abilities and spent a lot of time experimenting with them. Their eclectic routines didn't arise by accident. With intimidating goals, the common wisdom is attack the corners. But we tend to look for those corners only in the task itself. Begin the book by beginning the outline and begin the outline by jotting down possible topics. But maybe the book's first step is changing your bedtime to take advantage of more clear-minded morning hours. Our choices are products of our mental states, which are products of the details of our lives. Nothing is disconnected. Good lives do come from good choices, but good choices need fertile ground to germinate. Good self-improvement, then, resembles caring for the field more than planning the harvest. Or maybe that's what planning a harvest really entails. You just listened to the post titled, Think of Your Choices as Effect, Not Causes, by David Cain of Raptitude.com. And now, really quickly, I want to tell you about FreshBooks. It's big thanks to them that this show is still running. FreshBooks is what I use for invoicing. I've used other services, but they're all a pain to use. Usually you have to download PDFs. It's not simple to fill in the info. You have to manually send the invoice and email people. But not with FreshBooks. It only takes about 30 seconds to create an invoice and send it. And that includes making it look nice with your logo and everything. But that's just one small part of their service. They also have time tracking and my favorite, expense tracking, something I mention on this podcast frequently. It's actually fun to use if you're into that kind of stuff. Or if you're not, it's at least not a pain. It's perfect for people who don't like math. Come check it out. You can try it out for 30 days with no commitment and without entering any kind of payment info. Just come by freshbooks.com/living and enter Optimal Living Daily in the How Did You Hear About Us section. And I'll leave it there for today. I'll be back tomorrow with an excerpt from a book, actually, a book that I'm going to be giving away. So I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.